I'll have a go at showing some of me actually working, because that might show the actual joy I get out of this. This is the good limb, and it's a lovely dark colour, and you can actually hear the sound of that cutting that wood. That is cutting so sweetly. I'm just taking the corners off a little bit, trying to reduce. It was bending quite a lot here, so mostly I'll be working up this end, but I'm just tidying up anything obvious. You still see the bandsaw saw cuts here, so quite nice to get past them. But the trick is, you don't just keep working at one face, you've got to keep looking either side, because you can see, that's the side with the funny heart sap, plenty of heartwood there. Yeah, looks a bit fat there, a few strokes off there. Each stroke of the draw knife or of any tool should have a purpose. You're not just randomly thrashing away at the wood. So here I'm clamping at an angle. I'm just taking this corner off because it's very square at the minute. Also, you could see the way that popped off. It's just helping me see how the wood wants to flow. So I'm sort of working with it. I mean, you can't always do exactly what the wood wants. Sometimes you have to shape it to your will a little bit, but you've got to try and be sympathetic. You know, you can't just go madly right across the grain. You've got to, if a limb's got a huge waggle, you've got to accommodate it to some extent. But that's a lovely sound, isn't it? Working that heartwood. Let's get right to the tip. And these nice little features, like bits of discoloration around pin knots. Very therapeutic. Here's a bit you can see where it's tearing out. Well, I can just let it tear out, or I can rasp it. It's not tearing out too badly. You know, if you think, oh my god, it's tearing out too badly, just stop and use your rasp. Now, sapwood's quite nice and thin there. I'll take it down a bit more here. I'll just show you. Because there's a fair curve on this stave, the back should be curved, not straight. And we're going through quite a few growth rings there. But there's this funny stuff, so it's all a bit touchy-feely. But you can hear the difference using the draw knife on this stuff. Much softer. The other thing you can do with the draw knife is use it like a scraper on sapwood. You see how it's exposing that ring. All this stuff about following rings. Very versatile tool, the draw knife. Being obsessive about following a ring, but you can see where I'm cutting across a ring going this way. I've got this, like this dark streak is now running all along the limb, so you try and get everything running parallel to the limb where you can. It's not essential. I'm just mucking about for the fun of it here now, but just to show you different ways of using a draw knife. This soft white sapwood just comes up quite nicely. I've referred to it like dried chicken breast meat before now. And you see we're narrow there, a bit fatter here. I'll just tidy this edge up a little. again, you hear the contrast. Oh, you see, beginning to dig in there. Don't know if you can see that, beginning to dig in. So I just stop. Let's just stop. Get the bad boy rasp on it, the farrier's rasp. You can still just see where it was digging in there. Tidied that up, and just to avoid making the same mistake again, which is easily done, I'll just write rasp on there. That'll stop me attacking it with an edge tool and digging in. I've still got plenty of width, so it's not a problem. In fact, you can see why it's digging in. You can see the grain is coming across the belly of the bow there. So it's going to try and dig in at that angle. So this side's no problem because it will tend to swoosh off. I don't have to actually have the tip bending across. I could make the bow follow the grain and then steam bend it or heat bend it. It's a compromise. With yew you can take a few liberties, but grain at that angle isn't a huge liberty on a piece of yew. Well, let's be right, the grain's at that angle and it soon straightens up. Errors near the tip, not so important because you haven't got a lot of leverage. Take a little bit more off there, then stick it up on the tiller again. I'm not taking a huge amount off. I'm just fiddling and fettling and mucking about. I'm just working a little in off, and I thought I'd do this little bit so you could see some of the actual work rather than just constantly showing the results of the work on the tiller. So here's the scruffy billet bow. Done quite a bit more work, mostly on the outers, trying to get it coming around a bit more. The two limbs are entirely different. This one's got the nice bit of reflex, but they're like chalk and cheese to work with. The belly of this one is lovely, clean, crisp heartwood, smooth sapwood, easy to work. The other limbs all full of knots and scruffy and mixed heart and sapwood. So it's a bit of a weird thing, but we'll have a look. I'm sort of torn somewhere between, I don't know, £60, £70. Could go higher. I don't really know. I haven't really decided yet. I think I've been pulling it to 60. Yeah, and you see that that kink just outside of just left of the grip, that automatically looks weak. That's what I've been pulling it to. I've taken quite a bit off that limb. But you can see, yeah, I think we're a bit stiff mid left limb. Now, is that reflex pulling out at all? I think it is just straightening a whisker. Right limb's still very stiff, mid to outer. Pull it a little bit more this time. There we are, 19 inches. I mean, I could probably get that braced. But there's some funny effects, like because it looks weak here due to this dip. Well, I think it is a little bit fat there. Feels to go thin, fat. But because of that, it makes this look stiff. It's your eyes naturally looking for symmetry. And I think we're stiff here as well. But it's starting to move. I could probably think about getting it braced now. I've taken quite a bit off the back here, so this patch that's been laid in is now getting quite thin. Really, it's just has two purposes. It's belt and braces to give some extra tension resistance on top of that splice, just to stop the fingers of the splice just pulling apart. But also because of the dip in this billet, and to some extent this one, it helps just match them up. You can see the discrepancy in the heartwood between this billet and that one the whole thing's a bit of a mishmash. Yeah, it's moving anyway. It's something I'm just tinkering with. I'm not going to be doing a video every day. I'm not in a rush to finish it. It's not for anyone. I may look at reflexing this tip just to put a bit of symmetry into it. Maybe I won't. Who knows anyway.